What's up, everyone? Welcome to the most positive pop culture podcast in the multiverse, Metalcore Nerds, the podcast that features members of your favorite bands as we explore their love of pop culture. I'm your host, Sean Mott, and today I'm joined by Kyler, Nick, and Joe of Ecstatic Lullaby. Welcome to the show.
Hello, people.
Hello.
What's up?
So stoked to have you here. I like it when I get, usually it's kind of a one-on-one kind of thing. I like it when I get multiple people. It's nice. It's a different dynamic. I love it.
Well, I'm glad they're here because otherwise we'd be talking about Costco diapers and wipes. So that's what I've been dealing with today, bro. And
That's
we
some
went
good
and
pop
saw
culture right
ducks. I went to go see ducks today. That was about as pop culture as I got. And it wasn't Donald. It was just regular ducks. So
normal ass ducks. I've listened to Ecstatic Lullaby for a long time. It was kind of, as growing up in the 90s and being like a teenager in the 2000s and everything, that realm of like post-hardcore, emo, screamo, whatever you want to call it, was definitely my thing. You guys were featured on the music was featured on a number of stuff. You guys were in the Hills for obviously the classic cover, Britney Spears cover, Toxic, and you guys were also featured in MLB 07 The Show and Flat Out Ultimate Carnage.
That's a deep cut.
Are any of these or anything else that may have you guys have ever been featured on, do you have a favorite Ecstatic Lullaby pop culture moment?
I think the one that was really transcendent for me. I mean, like you said, I grew up in the 90s, so I'm born in 82, right? So that was my time, and MTV was everything, and for me to try and explain to somebody like today, like, how do you classify your band, like what are your streams and how many followers you have on Instagram and this, that, and the other, but it's like, bro, I was on MTV proper. They shut that shit down while the Hills was on. Okay, like I'm gonna tell you, like there is no more bigger flex for a kid in that time to be able to say that. But I remember the first time being on MTV2 and Jamie from Hatebreed, I think it was 120 minutes, introduced our Lip Gloss and Letdown video. It was almost outer body for me. Like I couldn't believe that it was really happening. I think too, seeing at one point, the band was really, really taking off, and I could walk into any Hot Topic in the nation, right, and see my shirt on the wall, and that was another kind of, I don't know if it's a flex, but it's one of those outer body things, right? Like you just don't even believe it's happening. And at 19 years old, I don't even think that I soaked it all in. It means more to me now when I reflect as it did in the moment then, right? I think it was a blur, or maybe I was told to expect it happening, so I was living it. But to go backwards and relive it's really crazy.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I think that's with anything in life, you know what I mean? In the moment, things can feel surreal and cool and awesome, but they almost feel better when you look back on it. You know what I mean? You have a different appreciation for it, and I think that's the kind of the beauty of those kind of things, is that you can look back and you feel a completely different way about something that happened to you. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's 100%. So cool.
Yeah. To bring it back down to what we're doing now with this live video and everything, I think when I read the comments, so many people are having the exact same time capsule experience where they're just going back, they're relating to a song, and it's bringing back memories for them of times that they thought were better, or just memories that they had when stuff was a little more carefree, when they aren't 43 years old, so it's really neat to experience that with the fans, and I get to do it as well. I mean, going through all the song tracks, and I was telling Kyler the other day, like I literally had to go Google all my own lyrics, and then I had to proofread them because they weren't right online, but I then had to go back to copy and paste them, and then I'm like, how many people have read this with these words this way, right? Like, and I get that I scream, and maybe the CD liner wasn't available when they transcribed them, but it was kind of funny. That was another funny moment for me.
Wow. I know Kyler and Nick, you guys are newer members, but do you guys have any moments like that from when you were like fans of the band?
I mean, I will say, growing up, I had the cool dad because he played video games, right? So like everybody all my friends are like, dude, your dad plays video games. That's sick. And one game that we would play, that I would play too, because he was always a sports guy, was MLB The Show. And so like it's funny because hearing, I think it's Hang 'em High, right, is on that game.
Mhm.
And it's funny because I remember hearing that on that game so many years ago, and then like now I'm in the band, I'm like, holy crap, I did hear that song on that game years and years ago. But so that's I mean, I didn't really think about that until this moment, like that was a connecting moment. And then Flat Out too. I mean, I didn't play Flat Out the original. I played Flat Out 2, which I think had Under Oath on it. But like knowing now that Static had a song on Flat Out, I'm like, holy crap, that's crazy, man. Like that was something that I loved growing up.
Outside of like obviously like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and like Dave Mirra's Freestyle BMX in like sports games where they had when that era was like at its peak. Because I remember I had a Madden. It had to be like 2000, like mid 2000s.
Oh yeah, like 05 or something.
Sevenfold and Thrice.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And old Avenged Sevenfold too, like way
Yeah.
before City of Evil and all that
Before
stuff.
Avenged
I
Sevenfold,
was like, I think it was chapter 4, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, what the hell?
Like, this is great.
Never catch that
Oh,
on
what
a
about
on a sports game these days.
Yeah. It's kind of coming back around. I feel like, bands like Turnstile and Knock Loose are kind
True.
of
That's true.
changing that game as far as like seeping into the mainstream of, all that stuff, which is cool. I'm glad
Definitely.
it's kind of happening again. I feel like it's coming around, a big thing like that. Kyler, is there anything for you in that realm?
Also, the show for me too. I remember when I was learning the songs, "Hang 'Em High" was one of the ones I learned, and I remember hearing it somewhere. I'm like, where have I heard this before? And it was a big song, so I'm like, I probably just heard it somewhere. But then I remember like Googling all like the placements the band got. I'm like, oh shit, it was an MLB The Show. I've always loved MLB The Show soundtracks. I mean, the new ones are kind of suck ass. I don't like the new show, but the one I played the most was the one where it started with the Black Keys. That one really riffy synthy one. Yeah, I played most of the MLB The Shows until like 2013, 2014. But yeah, I remember that too.
There is something I do like to kind of do in the beginning of the show, and that's to go back as far as you can when you were younger and explore the thing that got you into TV, movies, video games, comics, whatever the thing that brought you into the world of pop culture as you were growing up. So Nicholas, start with you. What was that for you?
Oh, well, I mean, it's the same thing. Like my dad growing up, he was the cool dad. He was into video games. He was into music, like on a crazy level. Like, if it wasn't for him, I don't think I would be into music, because he was like encyclopedic knowledge of the artists that he liked. And, my mom, she always listened to music more on a casual level. My dad would tell you, oh, these guys, here's the members of the band, and here's how long they've been a band. This is their third album. This is blah, 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 blah. And so like, growing up with him, playing video games, watching movies, listening to music, like he was kind of the catalyst for me to get into my nerdy side.
What were some of the video games he was into when you were growing up that got you into it?
The first console I had, and I'm younger than some of the guys here, so this is going to date me, but the first console I had growing up was the PlayStation, the original PlayStation. And I mean, he had been into it since, I want to say, like the NES. So like, when he's always been into sports games and things like that. The earliest things I can remember playing would be like Spyro the Dragon, that kind of thing, And so those were all from him, like I wouldn't have gotten into those. I mean, maybe I would have gotten into them because of school friends, but I got into it kind of early because the Game Boy obviously was huge growing up. As an adult, I have an affinity for handheld gaming because of the Game Boy. Like that was my thing growing up. And again, I think, he bought me the first Game Boy and kind of threw me into that world. So that's the reason why I'm into all that kind of stuff nowadays, is for sure because of my dad, I would say.
That's awesome. Kyler, what about you?
Yeah, I think it would also be my dad. He was the cool dad. He didn't really play video games, but he was always super into computers, still is. I pretty much learned everything. I do IT for a living, and I pretty much learned everything from him. He taught me how to pirate software and music and movies at a really young age.
Fuck yeah.
Wow.
So I sort of had just the entire internet to myself, and I just started, I started off on LimeWire, and then he showed me how to use Pirate Bay, and he showed me how to, look for Trojan viruses, all this kind of stuff. So just from as early as I can remember, I've always had a computer. He's always set me up with a nice computer. And I've always just been curious and looked up stuff, and I would always download a bunch of artists I never heard of and listen to music. I would watch a lot of movies. And then my first console was an N64, and I got Ocarina of Time, and that has been that's been my favorite game since I played it for the very first time.
That's awesome. So you must have been like one of the only kids in that time era that used LimeWire but didn't destroy their computer.
Oh yeah, no, my dad gave me a crash course, and he's like, I swear to God, if you mess this computer up, I'm gonna get pissed off. He still does it to this day, though. We talk about we share different torrents and stuff. It's really funny, actually. He's a little scoundrel, but so
you share torrents with your dad. That's crazy.
That's so wild.
No, we don't pirate anything. No, don't. Yeah, nothing.
Yeah. I've never. Yeah, when I was designing in college, getting my graphic design degree, I definitely didn't have a cracked CS4.
Oh, of course not.
Never.
Definitely did not have that ever. I don't know what you're talking about. Joe, what about you? What got you into the world of pop culture when you were younger?
I think the biggest moments that I had as a kid was my Ninja Turtles. That was huge. N64 is definitely was the console that changed everything for me, and being home alone and being able to occupy time. I think that was that one. But as far as music and everything's concerned, I grew up. My mom, she really loved like R&B and Motown, and when things were good in the house, she'd be playing that pretty loud, and I knew it was going to be a good day when that shit was going on. And I fell in love with music because I associated it with happiness, and I still do today. I'm not as much of a gamer as everybody else is. I am allowed one game because I lose myself for very long periods of time when I play Zelda. So I am an avid Zelda fan, and my wife doesn't like it very much, but good thing they only release games like every couple of years. So I think we'll be all right until the new Ocarina of Time comes out, and then she'll lose me for a little while then. But
oh boy.
Yeah, I think 82 or so. I think I got my first console when I was 4. It was regular Nintendo Entertainment System, and my dad got all the things. I had the trackpad. I even had a Power Glove at one point.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had a Power Glove. And that movie, The Wiz. Oh my God, bro! Like with Fred Savage, that movie was the greatest shit you've ever seen in your life, dude. I mean, oh my God, could you imagine? I thought that those dinosaurs in Palm Springs legit had like some big ass mall in them, right? From that movie. But it was more of a Mandela effect, I think, because I don't think there's this huge mall inside those dinosaurs ever, right? In that movie.
Just made it up.
Yeah, I just made it up in my head, so that's kind of fun.
I think there's one that has a store in it, but not like a mall. Like a store.
Yeah, my brain didn't tell me that, so that's fun.
Wow, Power Glove. You can tell we're all nerds of all of us freaked out that you had a Power Glove.
I had a Power Glove, dude.
That is sick.
Did it work? Did it work at all?
Power Glove worked a little bit. The Game Genie worked. So the Game Genie, that thing was the sickest thing in the world, dude. So it held your cartridge, and you put your cartridge in there, but it gave you all the cheat codes for any game that you ever wanted forever.
Yep.
So it was like just unlocking mayhem.
I'm a little too young for the Game Genie. I had the Game Shark.
Okay.
Game Shark was legit,
the Game Shark.
Dude. Legit.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember. This is unlocking memories for me, because I think my first console, I think, was a Super Nintendo, other than a Game Boy, like first like actual to TV console. And it wasn't like new. It was like it's been a thing, but I think it was probably before the N64. And then my first one that was new was the PS1 when I was whenever that came out. And Spyro was a big one for me. Spyro
was the best on the early PS1 and everything. Like I just got a Spyro. I think Brody bought it for my Switch too, and it is not as fun as that shit at all. That's it. The original Spyro is one of the funnest games I ever played, dude. So
it was
crazy.
it was good.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird because they combine all the games in one. So like the one you get for Switch is like Spyro 1 through 3. It's the same with Crash. It's like Crash 1 through 3, and I'm like, it doesn't feel this.
It doesn't feel the same to me at all.
The update graphics are weird, man. They're weird. They don't have the charm
because they make it more new, which like makes sense. Because if it was, because I tried to play like the pod racing game on Switch, and they did not update the graphics, and it kind of makes your brain like hurt because they're so bad. For sure. You're like, what
am I looking at? Yeah,
you're like, it's not like a cool, like if you're playing like an 8-bit thing, and you kind of feel this like nostalgic thing. You're like, this is kind of cool because like it kind of still looks fine because it's 8-bit, but like like when it's like just like really bad graphics, you're just like, oh. How did I play
that pod racing game was a trip, dude. They had it at my local McDonald's, and I would go every like week and play it for like hours. It was so fun.
I had a Mortal Kombat in a donut shop, and I think I stole more quarters from my fucking dad. I probably could, if I invested that into Fidelity or something by now, bro, I'd be so rich. My poor dad was fucking changed, dude. Oh, that's so funny.
Oh, that's wild.
Mortal Kombat in a donut shop,
dude. It's probably like straight down a hill, and I could get there quick on the bike. I hated going back up, so I'd spend a lot of time with like 8 pounds of quarters in my pocket to play Mortal Kombat.
Just sagging.
Just sagging. Praying to God I don't hit a rock on my skateboard. That's so funny.
Oh, yikes.
It would be like you would be a video game if you crashed because it's just
exploding quarters, dude.
Imagine dropping all those quarters and then trying to pick them up. You're like,
oh,
no.
Dude.
All right, so what are you guys into now? Like, what is some stuff you watching, playing, whatever? How are we gonna start with you? What are you into now?
Still into Ocarina of Time. I like to do it's called randomizers. I don't know if you've heard of them. All the items in the game are randomized. I've been super into that lately. I've been into this game called Arc Raiders, which I'm sure you've heard of or played at least. And League of Legends, yeah. Unfortunately, League of Legends.
I've heard so many bad things, not about League of Legends, but the toxicity of people who play League of Legends.
Yeah, I'm part of the problem too. So.
I should admit to it.
One of my really good friends is like, oh, I used to love League of Legends, and he's like, everyone who plays it is the worst person. He's like, I was also that person.
Yeah.
I feel like that's always the answer every time. Did you watch like Arcane then?
I did, yeah. It was pretty good. I like that show.
Yeah, I didn't know how it translated like from the game. I think isn't it just like some characters and they take the world and just do their own thing kind of thing?
Yeah, there's a whole lore to it. I've never paid attention to it though, but that show just objectively is just it's fun. It's a good show. I like animated show. I also really like the new Darth Maul show. That's some of the coolest animation I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, I've always loved Star Wars animation from a storytelling perspective, and I know some people like hate watching it because they just hate how it looks, which is fine. I guess you're missing out on some really good stories, but that's fine. But yeah, once they started releasing trailers for Maul, I was like, oh, they're going for it with this one as far as animation style. With story, they're doing what they've been doing for decades at this point, and just delivering awesome Star Wars shit because it's Dave Filoni, and he's the second coming of George Lucas anyway. So if there's no one's gonna tell a better story than him, So yeah, but they talked about how they used like pieces of glass or something, and like that's how some of it's like so like messy looking and stuff like that. And I'm like, you guys are crazy. This is awesome.
Yeah, the lighting it blows my mind. It doesn't even look real. Like it looks like I'm watching like I don't even know how to describe it. If you guys haven't seen that show, you should watch it because there's just the lighting when the lightsaber glow like hits people's faces at a certain angle and the atmosphere. That show blew my mind, dude. It's what Clone Wars looked to me as a kid. That's what this looks like now.
Yeah, it almost makes me like, oh man, I wish they would just like redo some of Clone Wars in that style. It'd be so sick.
Yeah.
It'd be so sick. But I'm stoked we're getting more. They're already like working partially done on season 2, so I don't think we're gonna need to wait much longer for that. And they got a lot of gaps to fill in with that character. So I hope that goes on for a minute. I'll take as much as they'll give me with that for sure. But Filoni's in charge now, so I think he can make that call, which is nice. You can be like,
Did he do
we're
Andor too?
He so he didn't make it, but he was in charge when it was happening in a creative standpoint. So he like oversaw it, but that was all Tony Gilroy. That dude is a fucking
that's right.
genius.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Andor might be one of the best shows I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, it's every time we get cool things like Maul and stuff like that are like give you that Star Wars feeling, but like as far as like well written stuff, I was like, it's a shame nothing will ever top Andor Star Wars wise as far as like well written. Like nothing will ever be written better. I think it's the best. It's probably the best written Star Wars thing ever.
Yeah, by far.
It's so insane. It's so good. Unbelievable. I want to rewatch it into Rogue One.
That's a fun time. I've done that like 7 times.
7? Holy shit.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Nick, what about you? What are you into lately?
I really love reading. I know it's kind of a boring answer, but I do a lot of reading. I like reading horror novels, horror movies. You know, that's my big thing. We were talking a little bit before we started recording, but yeah, that's probably my number one thing. I mean, I've got a number of tattoos, and I've it's pretty much been like a centerpiece of my life. I love as far as TV goes, to be honest, I'm not super into TV. I don't know if my attention span just can't handle it or what, but I can't sit down and watch a show. The only shows that I can sit down and watch, I'll watch with my girlfriend, and we'll watch I can either watch like sitcom. I do like animated shows. Like I love Rick and Morty. I love Bob's Burgers. I love The Simpsons, stuff like that, Futurama. But as far as what we'll watch is I'll sit down with her and I'll watch either a sitcom or something that I don't have to have crazy previous knowledge of, right? Or we watch like these shitty reality shows. Like right now we're watching $1 Million Secret on Netflix, which is very, very interesting and drama filled and fun. So we'll watch like stupid reality shows. We were watching Love is Blind for a long time, and we haven't really kept up with that because as the seasons go on, they get worse and worse, in my opinion. I mean, I don't play as much video games as I used to, as much as I would like these days, but I do like to play games every once in a while if I get the chance to. I've always kind of preferred single player games, and I've got a Steam Deck, which is like kind of what I stay on. I've got the Switch, which is great, but like I was saying, with Game Boy was kind of like my thing growing up, so I have a soft spot for handheld. So the Steam Deck is great because I can keep everything on it and either play it on the couch or plug it into TV, have everyone play. It's fantastic.
That's awesome. There's a few horror TV suggestions I have for you if you have not watched them.
What are they?
Have you watched It Welcome to Derry yet?
Yeah, we watched about half the show, and I couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah.
Really?
No disrespect. It's me. It's not the show. It's me. Okay. We watched, I want to say 4 or 5 episodes, and I've read the book. I watched the old movie. I've watched the new movies. Like I love that they went into Dick Halloran's character more, which I always, because I'm gigantic Stephen King fan. Like, and I always loved. I mean, The Shining is my favorite movie. The book and the movie are 2 different things, but that's a whole other tangent to go off of. But Dick Halloran character in the book, they go into the things that happened in the Black Spot, and so seeing that on the show was like, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. But I couldn't keep with it. I don't know why.
Man, dude, the way it ends, like, it's so hard because I feel we live in an era of like golden TV right now.
Sure.
Like, not everything is amazing, but there's so much amazing stuff. It's really hard to like not watch something and be like, wow, that was really good. And I was stoked for that show because I liked the remakes of the movies that came out in the 2000 whatevers, and same creative team sort of. Andy Muschietti is like a big part of the show, obviously. And the way stuff they do with Pennywise in that show is so interesting and cool, and the way they end it, I was like, holy fuck. And I think they're doing 2 more seasons, at least 1 more.
I know a new one's coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're
that was
gonna go-
another thing that was cool about that show to me was like in the book there's so many little vignettes that you see of him where he's, you know, becoming the creature from the Black Lagoon, or he lures the kid into the ironworks or whatever it is. It's been years since I've read it, but you know, and like I think the show went more into those, and to me that was like the best horror in that book was like those little in betweens. It wasn't the, I mean, the big moments are iconic, but like those little, like when he would take one of the kids and you get to see like what he did to them, like I was like, oh man, that is brutal, you know, it's crazy. To me that was like the best part of the book. So I do like that about the show. I just wish I could sit and watch a TV show for longer.
Because it's cool that they save Pennywise in that show, and they do those things, and it's so funny. It was seeing people like complain about that, and I'm like, he's a shape-shifting alien. He's not just Pennywise, guys. Come on. But then when you get the Pennywise stuff, it pays off like hardcore. So it was like less people complained the farther it got on, because like they delivered with the Pennywise stuff. They just made you wait for it, which I think you should do, especially in a TV series. You know, that's what you should do. But there's this really cool show on Apple TV. I don't know if you're going to be able to do it, but it's called Widow's Bay, and it's very Stephen King vibey. But it's
really? I haven't even heard of that.
It's kind of gaining traction a little bit. It's like Apple TV is like the best streamer out there that people only watch like the really big shows. Like obviously people talk about Severance, Ted Lasso, Shrinking. Those are the big ones.
So my girlfriend watched Severance and Ted Lasso. She can sit down and watch, and I'll sit down and I'll kind of be present, but I'm not there. So like I've seen it, but I haven't really seen it. You know what I mean?
That's
but I haven't heard of Widow's Bay at all. But I think Severance was a really cool show as far as like the idea and everything.
Yes, that's like one of my favorite shows.
Pluribus too was fantastic.
Yeah, Pluribus was, oof. It's the same guy who did Breaking Bad, but it's like a sci-fi show, and it's so weird and awesome. Definitely not your speed though, because it's definitely one where you kind of have to like lock the fuck in. You gotta lock in for that one. Widow's Bay though, it's like I've come to the conclusion, it feels like, I don't know if you've seen Midnight Mass on Netflix.
I do like Mike Flanagan. I haven't watched that series. I did watch The Haunting of Hill House, another book favorite of mine. And you know, I'm a fan of his work, but I haven't seen Midnight Mass.
Nick, please watch Midnight Mass for the love of all that is holy.
Unreal. So good. But this show is like if Midnight Mass and Parks and Rec had a weird baby, and that's Widow's Bay.
What the fuck?
You'll understand when you watch it, because it also takes place in this weird island town that's obviously very Midnight Massy, and there's just these weird creepy things that happen, but there's like this, it follows the mayor of this town and like all the people that work for him, so that's where it gets this weird like Parks and Rec vibe, and it's so sick. It's so Stephen King feeling while feeling really new and not like Stephen King at the same time. And there's some like cool Stephen King nods to it and everything. It's
nice.
Awesome. It's still going on right now. And it's awesome. It's so cool. That's been what I've been trying to recommend to people that are like, oh, I'm kind of into horror stuff like that. I'm like, you should watch Widow's Bay because it's so fucking weird.
I'm gonna watch it. I from what you have already reacted to, I feel like you will love it. It'll be so up your alley of what it is. It's awesome. Joe, what are you into? I know you said you were gonna talk about diapers and ducks.
Yeah. No, so you know, one of the new hot shows I'm watching is Bluey. No, I think this is going to be exciting for you guys, but for the last 17 years, I've been following the Trail of Gold in Nova Scotia and the Curse of Oak Island, and they've been digging in the same fucking hole for 17 fucking years. And they dig up pieces of things and they carbon date it, and they'll find a piece of metal. And somehow I've watched this religiously every Tuesday for the last 17 years of my life, and I still have no fucking treasure. Okay? That's where I'm at now on that. The Curse of Oak Island.
Oh, have you not heard of this?
No, I've never heard of it.
Oh man, dude. So I'm sorry to interject. My grandfather just passed away. Rest his soul. He was so into Oak Island, and him and my dad had this like inside joke because my dad's like, "Why do you watch that shit?" He's like, "Every single time they find nothing, there's gonna be
I know.
nothing ever."
They've nothing. I tell you, my wife thinks that I'm the oldest man alive because I'll sit there and watch World War II documentaries and stuff like that. But
Oh hell yeah!
I think I think what I've always been most into is fantasy. I'm really like a Lord of the Rings type of guy. I don't really lock myself in a room and listen to black metal, but I do I do really like me some Harry Potter. I think I get excited about that, but I'm an avid TV watcher. My wife is so into horror, but I just can't stomach a lot of the shit that she watches. Like they're so CB rated movies. Like I can't even handle it. They're so terrible to watch, but she'll watch every single one of them. Apple TV's got some great stuff. The Neighbor Show, that one's incredible with John Hamm in it. That show's great. I wanted to watch what you guys were bringing up. What's it called, Willow Bay or whatever? I have. Yeah, that one's on my list to watch. But yeah, no, I've recently I'm just involved in podcasts. Like I spend most of my time on podcasts, and I like laughing. I think it gives me I can sit there and listen to a podcast. I can listen to Theo Vaughn talk shit for, an hour and a half and be so completely enthralled because I think too, I mean, the way that he has conversations and who he has conversations with, I think that he comes off as very very genuine and a sweet dude. So I really like Theo Vaughn's podcast. Kill Tony is one of those things that I think it's freaking hilarious. I mean, to go up on stage and do 60 seconds in front of a bunch of people and one of the largest live streams on the planet, I think that's kind of a crazy idea and kind of a neat thing to do. I think I relate a lot with stand-up comics, being a performer. I like the idea of podcasts and conversation. And a lot of the time when, you're speaking to a 1.5-year-old, the deepest conversation you get is, can you say dada, right? So I think, I've been into podcasts a lot recently.
Have you ever heard of We're Here to Help?
What's that one?
So it's Jake Johnson from New Girl and his friend Gareth, he's a stand-up comedian also. But the premise of the show is they'll have like guests on that are like other famous people or comedians or actors, and they'll help. But they'll get random people to submit these problems that they have, and then the person calls in, says the problem, and then they try to give them guidance to help it. And I think Jake Johnson described it as, like we're your drunk uncles at a family gathering giving you advice.
That's so perfect, dude.
It's
great. And they put out a lot of episodes. It's usually my driving podcast. Like drive to a show or whatever. That's a good one to put on because it's so funny. And most of the time they're just fucking around. And some of the problems people call in are kind of fucking wild. Yeah. And you're like, how's this person's life real? Like, what is going on? But that one's a really good one, especially for comedy.
My wife got me into freaking. She got me into murder podcasts, dude. Like I don't know how she did it, but
crime,
she got me in, and I got hooked, man. Swords and Scales and all the other stuff that she listens to. But I mean, those murder podcasts are wild too, dude. So
for stand-up comedy stuff too, Netflix, this is semi-new. It ended a few weeks ago, but Kevin Hart had a comedian competition called Funny.
That was pretty good. Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah, me too. That one was pretty good. I think I'm into it. I like laughing. It's good.
Laughing is awesome.
I like laughing at myself.
We should do we need to do a band outing to the Improv. They have open mic nights once a month.
Yeah.
And it is a fucking train wreck, but it is the best thing, one of the best things I've ever been to in my entire life.
I think I love that, dude. I think
Joe's gonna get up there.
I think you would have so much fun there, dude.
that it's a date, pal.
Nick, you said you like books. What kind of
Yeah.
books do you read?
I mean, horror, but
Anne Rice,
Just
huge
horror?
Anne Rice fan.
my favorite. I think my favorite. He keeps making fun of Anne Rice because somebody gifted me Interview with the Vampire, and I haven't read it yet, and I will read it at some point. But if you don't know anything about that book, it's very gothic and very sexual, and I have not read it yet. But Kyler really wants me to read it for some reason. But
Oh,
I
he's
will
really-
say,
No, but yeah.
He's really into anything that they made a cover of Fabio on, so he's really into these romantic novels.
That's
I think my favorite books. I have a hard time picking between two of them. The first one is House of Leaves by Daniel Lusky. Yeah. And the second one is American Psycho, Bret Easton Ellis, and I'm in the process of working through another Bret Easton Ellis book right now, and I think his writing style is really really great. I think as a whole, obviously, I can't put down Stephen King. I'm also shout out to Clive Barker is another really great one. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff I like to read, like fucked up shit. I don't know what else to say. If it makes me not want to go to sleep at night, then I'm all about it.
Yo, buddy.
That's fair. Yeah, I in the last 2 years I've gotten very much into reading books in my for the first time in my adult life, since I was a kid. Everyone reads when they're kids, you have to.
Yeah.
But there was definitely I remember when I first watched Fight Club when I was I don't know, 13 or something, and I was obsessed with I just kept reading Chuck Palahniuk books after that.
Yeah, man.
But
that's a great one.
But now I need to get more into horror books. I've read some thrillers, and I've read a few Stephen King books. I think the thing that got me, one of the first things I read was the Let It Bleed, the collection of short stories.
Yeah.
Because the Life of Chuck is included in that. Mike Flanagan made a movie adaptation of the Life of Chuck, which is it's such a different side of Stephen King that I love to see, because it's hopeful and about the beauty of life, and not about. It's still weird. It's still really weird. But it's it's not what you expect when you're oh yeah, Stephen King book. You don't really think of these things.
He went out of that for a while. I think he was trying to Hearts in Atlantis. He was trying to kind of branch out from that. And I honestly, I think and I've read so many of his books, and I don't want to say this to disparage him, but you're reading a Stephen King book. There's tropes that he will do every single time. And so I kind of feel I like the short stories better now as I have read more and more of his works, just because I feel like he really has a chance to shine when he has to kind of limit himself to such a short thing. I've read a number of his short stories. I've read Skeleton Crew, and then there's another short story collection that has I think it's The Jaunt in it, which all of those stories are really really great. But there's some weird ones in there. There's some real weird ones in there that are not necessarily horror. They're kind of something that he did differently, but always really good.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the Holly book that's Holly short story that's in Let It Bleed. I think it's Let It Bleed. It might be Let It Bleed. But that got me, and I read the Holly book, but I want to go back and read The Outsiders, and I think Mr. Mercedes, and all the ones that led up to it. Obviously everything's connected in the Stephen King universe. It's all supposed to be happening in the same world and stuff like that. But to know that there's strings of certain books that are a series, but not titled in a series way. You know what I mean?
I love that.
It's Mr. Mercedes is the first, and I think there's a one or two after that, and then it's Let It Bleed, or then it's The Outsiders, then it's Let It Bleed, and then Holly, which I've only read Let It Bleed and Holly. But Holly's a cool one too, because they give you a perspective. I don't know if you read that one.
I haven't. We have it. My girlfriend actually got gifted that book from somebody, but neither of us have read it.
It's super rad because they give you both the perspective of Holly and the perspective of the person, the people she's after. Yeah. So you get dual perspectives of that. So you get a perspective of the fucked up weird people that are doing whatever they're doing in the book, which I think is really cool.
Yeah,
I love when it's kind of a it's not the more you read, the more you're oh yeah, a lot of books do have dual perspectives or something like that. But that's a really cool dynamic to dive into, to have something like that.
I love that storytelling style. One show, and everyone's gonna roll their eyes, but one show that I have watched all the way through, except for the new season, is Stranger Things, and I really liked in that first season how you had 3 or 4 stories going on, and by the end of it, they all came together. Like, to me, that's really cool. Stephen King did that with The Stand. I don't know if you ever read The Stand, but I think that's his longest book or one of his longest books, and I just finished it back in the beginning of the year. But yeah, it's like the same thing where you have like, well, in that book there's there's like 6 or 7 different storylines, and you're reading each chapter. It like kind of jumps back and forth, and by the end they all come together. And I think that that's really, really cool, and that kind of brings you back in. So if Holly's like that, I mean, I'll probably enjoy it for sure.
Yeah, it's only the 2, so it's not as cool, because trying to tackle like multiple different POVs and then have them all collide in a satisfying way is a very hard thing to pull off.
It is.
It's very
and
cool.
It can be annoying to read.
Yeah, it's very cool when it does work. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh wow. But the way, like I said, it's like cool to have this like, sick, twisted, like you see that point of view from it, and it's almost like you can see that they're justified in this. It's like Avengers Infinity War or something, like a lot of it's from like Thanos's point of view. You can like understand the villain and like what he's doing and why he's doing it and stuff like that. It's like that always makes the more interesting antagonist for anything, when you can kind of understand, or at least understand why they think it's right. It doesn't mean you need to you don't need to be like, yeah, this weirdo serial killer is right. You don't, not that far, but you're like, I can see in your mind that's why they would do that. And that always is so interesting to me.
I mean, that's just good writing. When the antagonist is just evil for evil's sake, it's just, there's nothing there. There's no depth. You know what I mean? It's just good writing when they give an explanation for their motives for certain things. Yeah.
That's why 100%. I like Dexter so much. All the
Have you watched
the
new series?
Yeah, all I can't believe that they're not going to continue on that. The one where they're going from Harry's perspective, where he's it's like young Dexter when he first finds him and everything. That one's incredible. And then but they I don't think they're going to make another season of that, but then they had the other young Dexter one too, which is really, really cool. I don't know. Yeah, that I think that the whole idea of that show is pretty neat.
And I'm so mad they canceled Original Sin, because I remember,
I was pissed, dude.
My biggest theory with that is how I didn't think they were going to introduce like his brother in that series at all, and have him be such a big part of it. Like, my theory is that Harry didn't kill himself. It's that his brother killed him and made it look like a suicide.
That's what I'm thinking too.
And they would have got to that eventually, and I'm like, no. Like, I'm never gonna know.
I know. We'll never know. We will never have it. That's so crazy.
It's so sad. It's so funny that there's something like Dexter, where obviously the original series ended so super weird. Like, that whole last season is like the weirdest thing.
So weird. Yeah.
And then they do New Blood, and you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then it ends, and you're like, well, I don't know if I like that ending. And then they're like, oh, just kidding. Here's another.
Yeah. We have a whole universe here for you. Yeah, no, it's crazy.
They just keep finding a way. We're like, okay, we ended it on a bad note. Let's restart it so we can make sure we can end it on a good note.
Right. Well, the one is New Blood, right?
The first like continuation is New Blood, and then the one that's ongoing now is Resurrection. Yeah,
Resurrection. Okay, that's right. With his son, that's the one.
Yeah, and Resurrection has done a really cool thing where they've done something different with Dexter as a character. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why I've like, because at first I was like, okay, this can go one or two ways, and it's like, how do you think it's going to end? Do you think he's going to get caught finally?
It always seems like it's leading up to it.
Yeah,
it always seems like it's leading up to it. So I mean, I don't know. It feels like they like to end these shows quickly. So they'll come up with something.
But yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get a season 3. And season 2 is in the works, and they're getting a ton of new people. That the thing that's impressed me the most is like the star power they're getting attached to these shows. Like, obviously, Resurrection season 1 had a ton of big players that most of them got killed. When you're a serial killer and then you're in the midst of Dexter, you're up on the chopping block. Thank you so much for joining me and talking to me and having this awesome conversation.
Can I say something before we leave here? This was one of the most refreshing interviews that I've had. I got to listen to my boys talk, and you kept it very, very active the whole time. And I did not It didn't feel forced in any certain way, and you got me touching on some things that I haven't thought about in a long time, and it was really a really nice conversation. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
man, that was super fun.
Thank you. That's the best compliment you could give me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. And I got to hear my boys talk over there, dude. That's important, all right? Come on.
We've been doing a lot of interviews lately, and it's because the album came out, and like I mean, I totally understand. Like the interviewers that we've been talking to, they want to know about Joe and Dan and how things were back then to now. I totally get it, but being on this podcast, it's we've had a chance to talk about some things that we're not that, and it's been fun for us to kind of be able to show our personalities a little bit, being the new guys in the band, like we want to say who we are.
Let the people know what Static Lullaby's got going on. Anything else you want to plug? The floor is yours.
And don't forget to Breathe live playthrough. Live album is out now. We went and re-recorded it. It's an album that means a lot to a lot of people, and we're happy to. I mean, I'm very honored to be a part of the re-record and show people this iteration of the band and how things have changed and the way that it sounds now with the 5 of us, and it's great. And to be able to give that to the fans and say, hey, we're back after all this time. I mean, it's the reception's been great. So that's out now. Go listen to that. We have our own podcast. It's called Good Guys Bad Band. You can find it on our YouTube channel at A Static Lullaby Official. And we talk about stupid shit on there. We're dorks on there, and the guys talk about things, their timeline of how things have gone since the beginning of the band. So if you're interested in the history of the band, there's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of this pop culture stuff, and then there's a little bit of just fun, silly stuff. So that's going on. We got new music coming out sometime this year. We have a song ready to go. We're working on a couple others. And we have some shows coming up in July with the band I Promise the World. So we will be playing in on July 17th in San Francisco, and then July 19th in LA. So come on out.
One of the coolest new bands out there, in my opinion. I love that.
Yeah, man, it's cool, and it's good for us to be playing with them, because I think a lot of the people that listen to them are from this newer generation, and I think that they would enjoy Static Lullaby a lot. So I think with us playing with them, hopefully we can open the Static Lullaby up to some of these newer generation kids, man. So it's really cool, and thankful for them, and yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Hell yeah. I'll make sure and link everything down below. So if you're not following Static Lullaby, you can go down there and do so. And if you want to support the podcast, it's just metalcorenerds.com. Got all our links in one easy place. If you want to follow me on my personal account, it's just at SeanXMod on Instagram and Twitter. And until next time, see you later, nerds.